Ah, shit. Here we go again. Now, we got to address the elephant in the room. Hey, so y'all realize when the 90s and people like the old heads are debating about the 90s was better when it comes to defense and the new generation is softer and all that. So, by this video, shout out to Low. Um, and we gon' react to this and see how he's saying old heads lie about the 90s defense. And let's just debunk certain things.
So recently in the NBA, there have been a bunch of crazy scoring performances that's happened around the league. And of course, instead of just complimenting the young stars and the dominated
Yep.
offensive scoring performances, of course, the old heads want to sit here and tell us about how there is no defense being played. And back in
Facts.
my day, we really played defense.
Bro, I was looking at some clips and all that. They was playing low key the same thing as like now low key, except they wasn't being physical.
Yada, 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 yada. A bunch of yapping. But we do get some nuances and some clarity, and you'll see that in this video.
At this point, it's starting to become very disturbing because there's no effort defensively, right? It's almost to the point where it's like guys are saying, take the ball out, hurry up, take the ball out. If they make it, let's hurry up and get it out and go. Outlet,
Yeah.
outlet. Like this is bad basketball defensively. Like I played in a.
How is that bad basketball defensively? Getting the basketball after a made bucket and trying to run in transition so you can get an easy quality look instead of trying
Facts.
to constantly operate in a half court set. How is that bad basketball? Mind you, I just want everybody to be mindful. That was the entire 80s. The entire 80s ran at a similar pace, if not higher, than what we see in today's game. So if you think that those concepts is just bad, that means that you also think the 80s are bad.
Like I played in a time where it's like if a guy was about to hang 30 on you, at least you was gonna get ejected for a hard foul. Like you had to go out swinging, and I mean, like it's no pride defensively. Look at these shots. I mean, wide open, no resistance.
I mean, bro, that's low key true, but like, come on.
However, being able to get to the free throw line, like if a guy has 30 on the team at half, how about just say, you know what, we're gonna double him every time he gets the ball. He would.
The reason why, and this is the part that's just really bothersome. When people sit here and say, and I can't believe I had to explain this to somebody, but like old heads try to sit here and say, back in my day when somebody was really putting on a scoring palooza on us, we just had to just rough them up and just make sure that we gave them a hard.
It's not 100% true.
You realize when you admit that you were fouling players, that means that you're not playing defense because the reason why it's a foul is because it's violating the defensive rules? You do realize that, right? Fouling isn't defense. That's why the opposing team, when you foul them, is awarded with free throws. That's not defense. When Perkins is sitting here saying that back in my day, we used to just sit here and send doubles, yeah, the reason why they would do that is because players like you were on the floor. If KD's going crazy, I'm going to leave you to go double him. Ironically enough, Kevin Durant actually said that exact same thing, I believe, in a tweet one time. Like, he was basically saying, like, yeah, the reason why I couldn't get off is because you were on the floor and they would just leave you to come double me. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, people,
back in the
especially
day,
like a superstar, they double.
Inept players like yourself, yeah, they would just leave you to go double the best player. But nowadays, you don't really exist in today's league. Almost everyone has some type of offensive repertoire, so you can't just go double the best player on the team because you're more than likely giving up an open three or easy layup. That's why.
Not go for 50 tonight, but it's becoming a common thing right now, and to be honest, it's not good for the game. You gotta have guys step up defensively.
Bro, nigga, didn't you play like in the 2000s, bro? I'm sick of tired of these.
So, Brian, what do you want to see more of? Scoring or more defense?
I want to see balance because that's where we're a little bit out of whack in the NBA right now. We don't have balance. You know, I've talked to some head coaches.
That's actually a great answer because balance is needed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to act as if like every player in the NBA.
I feel like that dude right there, when that was just there, he has more common sense, bro.
Defense. FYI, that's never happened in NBA history. And I'm also not going to act as if like there aren't a couple of possessions that do look a little bit wonky because it does feel as if like teams are basically just conceding certain shots or certain possessions because they know that they're already defeated and they're just hoping that, you know, whoever I'm guarding isn't going to miss their shot, right? So I do believe that there does need to be a bit more balance. And I love that what Brian Windhorst said right there. And there are probably going to be rules coming down the pipeline that will lead itself to more balancing. Balance is the answer. This idea that people want to watch defense defense. No, you don't.
No, you
The
don't.
idea that-
For real. Like, you know you would, bro. And the reason why I kept on going with like playing basketball and all that, because Kyrie Irving, he did the crossover, and especially in the All Star, not the All Star, but yeah, low key the All Star, and he was trying to break ankles and all that stuff, bro. Come on, dog. Like, you didn't want to see that, bro. Like,
that people just want to see these defensive juggernauts and this slow pace off. Like, no, they don't. People do not want to watch slow offensive teams that are so defensive oriented that teams are only scoring 99 points. No, they don't. No, they
you really don't. I ain't
Please
gonna
do
lie.
not allow anybody.
I like
to lie to you and
offensive
say
players more than
that they do.
defensive players.
I also
but
want to be clear.
At the same wait. At the same time, I do like defending. Like it's so weird because you see, I'm gonna bring up Victor Wembanyama. You see him, and he's more defensive, but he still plays offense. So it's just like it's kind of like crazy how he does his defense. But I mean, that's an outlier. But other than that, I don't think like I would see Rudy Gobert or Jaren Jackson Jr. try to play defense and block people. Like it's not as fun as like seeing someone shoot like Stephen Curry or break ankles like Kyrie Irving in a way.
I cannot stress this enough. When people bring up the rule changes, that is irrefutably true. I saw this clip of JJ Redick where he was going on and on and on about like, oh, they changed all these rules to favor defense. That's not completely true. The rules that JJ Redick was referring to are rules that were actually just not allowing offensive players to just manipulate the game so much so that it made it impossible to defend. But they didn't necessarily favor defensive players. They just took away a lot of the aspects offensively, if that makes sense. They kind of just tampered down what they did offensively. With that being said, however, it's still very disingenuous not to acknowledge how we got here. And there are undeniably rule changes that have allowed us to get here, as well as players starting to understand the rule book and get a better understanding of what they are willing to get away with on a possession-to-possession basis with the dribbling, shooting, how to draw fouls, right? That takes like decades of just a trial and error and learning what the referees will and will not allow and really pushing the boundaries.
Sure, I'm going to ask y'all a question.
See, I ain't gonna lie. When you talk about Gilbert Arenas and his podcast and all that, sometimes he be right in certain occasions, but then sometimes he be like not right. You know what I mean?
And you tell me if it's facts or if it's cap, okay? The NBA needs to bring back old school defensive rules. Facts or cap?
Facts.
Okay.
Defensive rules.
And why is that?
No, see, here's what I would say about that, bro. They need to stop calling fouls on those little soft shit, bro. That's the only thing, bro. Because they call fouls on anything, bro. And I mean anything. Just a little tap. They call fouls on anything. That's my only thing. They can't really be too physical. Because, I mean, I think they brought that up because the superstars don't get hurt as much or whatever. Or the superstars don't get injured as much. So I think that's why the physicality is like lowered down so they don't get fouled. But like, come on, you can't be like rough because you go back in the Euro League and all that, they're physical, but it's so different from there where you can't even like touch them that much in the NBA. So,
But you should. I ain't playing the NBA. I'm just going off of what I watch.
You are a knowledgeable basketball expert, and you see the game.
Yeah, I don't know about to me, when you say rule, I'm just talking what I remember from back in the day when defense was like real. Like there were moments you could just knock somebody on their ass. There was no foul call. Like you could guard somebody. You could get up in their space. There was not this. Now it's all about freedom of movement. You can't hand check. You can't put a hand. No, you should be able to hold them. But if I want to guard you and get in your space, I should be able to touch you and be a little physical with you.
So prison rules.
I don't know.
Somewhat.
I ain't in prison, so.
No, let's cut the malarkey here. Shout out to Gilbert Arenas for also calling that out. So basically, yeah, you want them to foul them. That's basically what you want. Like, what are we doing right now?
okay, not like that.
And then it's not a foul. Like, let's say hypothetically speaking, they do allow a more physical play, right? They do allow a bit more touching on the perimeter. What is that going to really do? Every team that has a dominant ball handling guard, they just say, hey, yo, Kawhi on me? Hey, come set the screen real quick and then switch and get Zubac on you, who can't get physical with you because he's not laterally quick enough. Like that's literally what's going to happen. And that's what Luka does. That's the thing that really bothers me when we had these conversations. People watch the game. If you watch the game, the Hawks were trying to play defense. Not in all possessions, I don't want to make it seem that way, but they were attempting to play defense quite often, and they showed several different looks. The reality is though, when you have a player that offensively skilled, even if you get physical with me, I'm just going to call for the pick and roll and to bring a weaker defender on me. So against the Hawks, I'm going to pick on Trae Young. Against the Clippers, if Kawhi and PG are guarding me, I'm going to pick on Zubac, and that's what Luka was basically doing for 2 postseason series in a row against the Clippers. Luka touched down in the NBA, walked into his first playoff series, saw Kawhi and PG, some of the greatest perimeter defenders, and still was posting up 30, 35 points in the playoffs.
That's still crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
Just completely just dog walking PG or Kawhi. It's because, hey, Kawhi's defending me, PG's defending me, they getting a little aggressive. I'm not going to sit here trying to prove a point. I'm going to go get some buckets, and I'm going to just go do it on Zubac.
So that's low-key true, because, like, you got to outsmart people, bro. You can't really, like, if you know that he's a great defender, bro, like Kawhi Leonard, you most likely going to ask for the pick and roll, screen, this and that, get your bucket, or pass it to someone else that can drive in. So, I mean, better offense. You know what I'm saying?
Kenyon, NBA needs to bring back old school defensive rules. Facts.
What you looking at over there?
But you can but the thing with the fouls and all that, like the old rules, you can't knock a nigga out like that. Like, no, nigga, you can't knock a nigga out just like playing, bro. Like, I'd rather be like, this should be more physicality, but not as like hitting the nigga. Like, there's got to be some type of bend over the rules.
It's cap, but y'all know the way I feel about it, right? Because guys are really good right now, right, offensively. And no, I don't think it's just individual pride, man. Like, so that's like, it has nothing to do with schemes and all that at times, man. It's individual pride. I go back to, like I was talking about the other day, about being up on the pick and roll and certain things like that. Dog, that's knowledge of the game and individual pride.
I do agree with King and Martin here, because like at the end of the day, there are capable defenders in the NBA. Like, shout out to Alex Caruso, shout out to Marcus Smart, Derek White, Drew Holiday. Like, there's more than competent on-ball defenders, especially at the guard position. And they do the things that are necessary, play defense, right? And so even with the rules potentially limiting them in contrast to some of their defensive predecessors, they still have the ability to be very impactful defensively. So I agree. To an extent, it is just pride. And I do watch some of these players defend, and they kind of just concede a lot of these things because they know they're not skilled enough to operate in some of these like offensive sets that they're putting them in. Now, also, these players, a lot of these players are just legit defensive liabilities, and defensive liabilities have always existed in the NBA history. The difference, though, is that in today's game, the coaching, the mentality, the hunting for threes and constant mismatches is way more prevalent now than it was back then. That's
facts. And I think with people shooting threes and trying to do ball movement, I think that kind of got inspired by the Warriors 2016-2017 around 2016-2017. Around that time when it was going back and forth with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Warriors. I think that's what inspired people to shoot the threes and have ball movement while all that. I mean, threes was always a thing, but like Curry kind of like, in my opinion, inspired people to shoot the three, especially in the league. You feel me?
That's really the difference. And so even if you had a competent defensive perimeter player or a competent defensive interior presence, the coaching in today's game, the schemes in today's game, they're just way more advanced to give you better opportunities and advantages than they did in yesteryear. Like King and Martin said, bro, it's kind of cap because y'all have to acknowledge just a skill level and schemes that are happening right now. Put so many teams and players at liabilities or handcuffs them just off of sheer skill alone. Like, I got to make the decision of who I want to give up on an open three. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Individual pride is...
That means nothing.
Yes, it does.
But it does.
Okay.
So, no, but it does.
And knowledge of the game, right? So it's the clip, so we're going to talk about it right now anyway. The other day, we saw the Pat Beverly, Paul Reed clip, right? They playing Paul Reed back on the pick and roll, right? Pat Bev like, no, I don't need you here. I need you here. I don't need you here. I need you here. That takes a little effort and pride and knowledge of the game, like not to be back on the pick and roll, right? It's a different look. I ain't saying that I'm gonna stop you from scoring, but I'm giving my effort and my, okay, I'm gonna be up on the pick and roll now, right? Instead of giving you the.
The only other thing that also bothers me is like this idea that because these players are allowing like 50, 60, 70 point performances that they're not giving effort. So then
That's
what
cap.
was the whole concept of like when Kobe dropped 81 and Jalen Rose, who was on the opposing team, openly admitted that Sam Mitchell, who was the coach of the Toronto Raptors, wasn't willing to call any other type of defensive sets. That they were just allowing Kobe to play one-on-one basketball. And like it's basically impossible to just allow Kobe to do that. Or what about the fact that when David Robinson dropped 71 in the last game of the season, on an opposing team, Dominique Wilkins has been on record stating that, we basically just allowed him to do that. All the starters were taken out of the game after like 20 minutes of play, and they just kept feeding the ball to David Robinson and never really doubled him.
See, like, that been the thing, though.
On the second unit, and we just allowed him to just score that. Like, the concept of like defensive pride, again, I'm not saying that what he's saying is wrong, but it's like, we can say that about anybody. Like, if you just go back and you watch some of the better players put up some of the greater scoring performances, dropping 50, 60, like those games, those outings, very rarely are done against great defensive teams. Very rarely. 99% of the time, it's against teams that either A, do not have favorable matchups for the players that they're trying to defend, or B, are not good defensive teams. All these scoring performances happen against bad teams. When Devin Booker dropped his 62, that was against Indiana.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Is that true?
Indiana Pacers.
Nah, cause the Hawks, when Luka played against, when Luka played against the Hawks, they wasn't that bad of a. I wouldn't say they wasn't bad of a defensive team. They not the worst, I don't think.
26 ranked defense. Okay, hold on. I just gotta be clear with this, cause I could have sworn like all these like great scoring performances were happening against like really bad defensive teams. Joel Embiid dropped 70 against the Spurs. The Spurs are 25th in defense. He was just manhandling rookies out there. And Zach Collins. When Giannis dropped 60, he did that against the Pacers. The Pacers are again one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. And Towns dropped his 60-point performance against the Charlotte Hornet, literally the worst defense in the NBA. So like, yes, there should be more attention to details, but like, my nigga, like no one is putting up like 70 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, most of the times, crazy scoring performances again are going against either bad defensive units or teams that have identifiable like defensive lapses or defensive liabilities on the floor that we can consistently pick apart all the time. Like, that's what happened. Atlanta is what? The 28th ranked defense. Like, nigga, these are like.
Oh yeah, that's tough. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, that's tough.
Like, niggas is not doing it against the Boston Celtics. They're not doing that against the Milwaukee Bucks. They're not.
Somebody could. I ain't gonna lie. In my opinion, somebody could.
Doing that against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're not doing that against OKC. They're not doing it against the Clippers. Like, they're not.
Somebody, I ain't gonna lie. Clippers, maybe. Not Clippers. OKC, maybe.
They're not. But yo, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And until next time, I'll see.
Hey, what are y'all thoughts, man? Me personally, 90s a little overrated, but you can't deny the history that the 90s did compared to what is involved now. So let me know what y'all think, actually. Subscribe if you're new, and I'm out. Peace.